She told her friends she wanted a real man. Now she's crushed. I became one without her. I'm writing this at midnight because I can't sleep, and honestly, I'm still processing what happened tonight. My ex-girlfriend of 5 years showed up at my apartment crying, and I had to close the door in her face. Never thought I'd be that guy, but here we are. My name's Ryan. I'm 28, and up until 8 months ago, I was in what I thought was a good relationship. My girlfriend Emma was 26. We met in college through mutual friends at some house party. She was studying communications while I was doing computer science. We clicked pretty fast and started dating sophomore year. For most of our relationship, I was what you'd call a pushover. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Emma wanted something. I'd make it happen. She wanted to go out. We went out even if I was tired. She wanted to stay in. We stayed in even if I had plans. She picked where we ate, what we watched, where we went on vacation. I just went along with everything because I thought that's what you do when you love someone. I worked as a software developer at a tech company. Decent job, okay pay, but I wasn't super ambitious or anything. I'd go to work, come home, play video games, hang out with Emma on weekends. Pretty basic routine. Emma worked in social media marketing and was way more outgoing than me, always posting stuff online, always going to events and meetups, always networking. She'd make comments sometimes about how I needed to be more social, how I should want to go out more, meet more people, be more ambitious about my career. I'd try for like a week and then fall back into my usual routine. It never seemed like a huge deal, just normal couple stuff where you annoy each other sometimes. About a year ago, the comments got more frequent. Emma would say things like I was too comfortable, that I wasn't growing as a person, that I was the same guy she met in college, and that was fine then, but we were adults now. I'd ask what she wanted me to do different, and she'd just say she wanted me to figure it out myself, to take initiative for once. I didn't really get what she meant. I had a job, I paid my bills, I was faithful and treated her well. What more did she want? Things got worse around the holidays last year. Emma's friends were all getting engaged or married or buying houses. One of her friends married this guy who owned his own business. Another friend's boyfriend was some finance guy who made bank. At every gathering, Emma would come home and make comments about how well everyone else was doing. She'd say things like how her friend Sarah's boyfriend took her on a surprise trip to Hawaii, or how her friend Jen's fiance bought her this expensive necklace, never directly saying I should do those things, but heavily implying it. We started fighting more. Little things would set Emma off. I'd suggest ordering pizza, and she'd snap that I never wanted to try new things. I'd want to stay home on a Friday, and she'd say I was boring. About 10 months ago, Emma started going out without me more. Girls' nights, work events, networking things. I didn't mind at first, but she'd come home later and later, would be on her phone constantly texting and laughing. When I'd ask what was funny, she'd say just something from work. Then one night, I picked up her phone to check the time because mine was dead. A text popped up from her friend, Michelle. It said something like, "So did you tell Ryan yet, or are you still keeping him around?" My stomach dropped. I opened the messages, even though I know that's wrong, but I had to know. I scrolled up and saw months of messages, Emma complaining about me to Michelle and her other friends, saying I was going nowhere in life, that I had no ambition, that I was like a puppy dog who just followed her around, waiting for her to tell me what to do. The worst message was from about 2 weeks before. Emma had written that she loved me but wasn't in love with me anymore, that she wanted a real man, someone with drive and confidence and goals, someone who'd take charge instead of her having to babysit her boyfriend. Her friends were encouraging her to break up with me, saying she deserved better, that she was wasting her prime years on someone who peaked in college. I sat there reading for probably 20 minutes. Emma was in the shower. I felt numb. This girl I'd spent 5 years with had been trash talking me to her friends for months, and I had no idea. When Emma got out, I confronted her, asked if she wanted to break up. She got defensive immediately, asked why I was going through her phone. I said I saw a text pop up and wanted to know what was going on. Emma tried to backtrack, said she was just venting and everyone complains about their partners sometimes, that I was taking it out of context. I asked her to explain the context of wanting a real man then. She didn't have an answer. We fought for hours. She admitted she'd been unhappy for a while, that she felt like she was dating a teenager, not a grown man, that I wasn't challenging her or pushing her to be better. I asked why she didn't just break up with me if she felt that way. She said she kept hoping I'd change, that I'd wake up one day and become the man she needed me to be. Fine, I said, let's break up then. If I'm such a disappointment, we should just end it. Emma started crying. Said she didn't want to break up. She wanted me to fight for us, to show her I could be better. I asked how I was supposed to do that when she'd already decided I wasn't good enough. We went in circles. Finally, I told her I needed space. She left and went to stay at Michelle's. The next morning, Emma texted saying we should talk. I met her for coffee. She said she'd been thinking and wanted to make things work, that we'd been together too long to throw it away. I asked her point blank if she respected me. She hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. She tried to recover, said of course she respected me. She just wanted me to respect myself more, to have goals and ambitions. I told her we were done, that I wasn't staying in a relationship where I was constantly judged and found lacking, where my girlfriend was embarrassed of me to her friends. Emma started crying, said I was overreacting, but I was done. Told her to get her stuff from my apartment, and that was it. Emma didn't take it well. Texted me constantly for the next week, called crying, showed up at my place a few times. Her friends even reached out saying I was making a mistake, but it wasn't nothing to me. It was everything. After the breakup, I felt lost for a while. Didn't know who I was without Emma. My whole adult life had been with her, but then something weird happened. Without Emma around making me feel inadequate, I started actually working on myself. Not for her or to prove anything, just for me. I started going to the gym, at first just to have something to do, but then I started seeing results and got serious about it. Hired a trainer, fixed my diet, committed to it, lost about 30 pounds over 6 months, and put on muscle. I also took my career seriously. Applied for a senior developer position at my company and got it. 20% raise. Started working on a side project building an app I'd always wanted to make. I took up hobbies Emma said were dumb. Started rock climbing with guys from work. Got into cooking and would spend weekends trying complicated recipes. Started reading more. Joined a casual basketball league. Made new friends. Basically, I became the person I should have been all along. Not because someone was nagging me to, but because I actually wanted to improve my life. I also started seeing a therapist. She helped me realize how codependent I'd been with Emma, how I'd made Emma's opinion of me my whole identity. It was eye-opening. Around month 5, I started dating again. Met a girl named Casey at a climbing gym. She was cool, had her own life, didn't make me feel like I needed to be anyone other than myself. We've been seeing each other for about 2 months now. It's casual, but easy in a way things with Emma never were. I unfollowed Emma on everything, blocked her number, went full no contact. My friend said that was harsh, but I needed a clean break. I heard through mutual friends that Emma wasn't doing great, that she'd been dating around but nothing stuck, that she'd ask about me sometimes. I didn't care. I was focused on my own life. Then tonight happened. I was home watching a game when there was a knock on my door around 9. Looked through the peephole and it was Emma. I almost didn't open it, but figured she'd just keep knocking. Opened the door and she looked rough, like she'd been crying. She asked if we could talk. I said there was nothing to talk about. She started crying harder and said she'd made a huge mistake, that she'd been stupid and missed me and wanted another chance. I asked her why now. After 8 months of no contact, why show up crying? She said she'd seen pictures of me on social media, that I looked different, that she'd heard from friends I was doing really well, had a better job, was in great shape, seemed happy, and she realized she'd thrown away the best thing in her life. I told her that was great, but I'd moved on, that I was seeing someone and was happy with my life. Emma's face fell. She asked who I was seeing. I said that wasn't her business. She got angry then, said I'd clearly been able to change, so why couldn't I have done that when we were together, and why did it take breaking up for me to become the man she needed? I told her the truth, that I changed because I wasn't with her anymore, that her constantly making me feel inadequate killed any motivation I had, that the second I was free of her judgment, I actually wanted to improve myself. Emma didn't like that. She said that wasn't fair, that she'd only pushed me because she saw my potential. I said if that was true, she would have loved me where I was while encouraging growth. Not made me feel like garbage until I changed. That's not love, that's manipulation. She begged for another chance. Said she'd changed too. That she appreciated me now in a way she didn't before. But I was done. Told her I wished her the best, but we weren't getting back together. That ship sailed months ago. She needed to move on like I had. Emma stood there crying, then left. I closed the door and just stood there feeling weird. Part of me felt bad, but mostly I felt relieved. relieved that I wasn't that guy anymore who would have taken her back just because she asked. Now I'm up at midnight writing this because I can't stop thinking about it. How I spent 5 years trying to be enough for someone who'd already decided I wasn't. How I only became who I wanted to be after she left. How she only wants me now that I don't need her anymore. My question is, did I do the right thing? Part of me wonders if people can really change and if I should have heard her out. But bigger part of me knows going back would be a mistake, that I'd fall into old patterns of trying to please her and losing myself again. Update. It's been 3 weeks since Emma showed up at my door and she hasn't stopped trying. I thought closing the door on her would be the end, but apparently not. The day after, Emma started texting from a new number since I'd blocked her old one. Long paragraphs about how sorry she was and how she'd been reflecting on everything, how she'd been selfish and took me for granted. All stuff that sounded good but felt empty. I didn't respond. After about a day, I blocked the new number too. Then she started emailing my work email. She'd found it on LinkedIn or something. Similar messages. Apologizing, asking for another chance, saying she'd do anything to fix things. I marked them as spam. Casey asked if everything was okay because I'd been distracted. I told her about Emma showing up in the messages. Casey was cool about it, but asked if I was actually over Emma. I told her honestly that I was completely over Emma, that what we had was done, and I was happy now. Casey said she wanted to make things official between us. I was happy about that. Casey's great. She's got her own career as a physical therapist, her own friends, her own hobbies. We support each other without needing to change each other. About a week after Emma's visit, I went out with friends to a bar downtown. Just a casual Friday thing. We were having drinks and watching the game when Emma walked in. At first I thought it was coincidence, but then Emma made eye contact and started walking over. My buddy Mark saw her coming and asked if I wanted to leave. I said no, I wasn't letting my ex chase me out of a bar. Emma came to our table and asked if she could talk privately. I said whatever she needed to say, she could say in front of my friends. She sat down anyway. She went on about how she'd been thinking about us constantly, how she'd made a list of everything she did wrong, how she wanted to show me she'd changed. She tried to show me this list on her phone. I didn't look at it, told her I'd moved on, that I was seeing someone and was happy, that she needed to stop showing up and messaging me. Emma's eyes got watery. She asked who I was seeing. I said that wasn't her concern. She asked if it was serious. I said yes. Then Emma said I was just dating this girl to make her jealous, that I was trying to hurt her, that if I just talked to her alone, she could explain everything. I told her not everything was about her, that I was dating Casey because I liked Casey, that Emma had been gone from my life for 8 months and I'd moved on. She wasn't part of that anymore. Emma started crying right there in the bar. My friends looked uncomfortable. She was saying I was being cruel, that 5 years together had to count for something. I told her I didn't owe her anything, that she made her feelings clear in those texts to her friends, that she called me boring and aimless and not a real man, that she wanted someone better, and now she had the freedom to find him. Emma said she never meant those things, that she was just venting. I said whether she meant them or not, she said them. You don't talk about someone you respect and love like that. She tried to grab my hand. I pulled away, told her to leave and stop contacting me, that if she didn't, I'd take legal action. Emma looked shocked, asked if I was seriously threatening a restraining order. I said I was seriously telling her to respect my boundaries. She left crying. My friends were quiet. Then Mark said that was intense. We tried to get back to normal, but the mood was killed. When I got home, I told Casey what happened. She asked if Emma showing up was going to be regular. I said I hope not, but didn't know. Casey said she liked me, but wasn't interested in being part of some drama. That if Emma kept inserting herself, Casey was out. I understood. Promised I'd handle it. A few days after the bar thing, Emma showed up at my gym. I was working out when I saw her on a treadmill watching me. She wasn't running, just slowly walking and staring. I walked over and asked what she was doing. She said she'd joined this gym because it was close to her new apartment. I called bull. This gym was across town from where she lived. I told her this was getting weird and she needed to stop. Emma started crying, said she didn't know what else to do, that I wouldn't talk to her or read her messages, that she was desperate. I said being desperate doesn't mean you get to stalk someone, that she needed to move on. Emma asked how she was supposed to move on when she still loved me. I said we weren't meant to be together since she spent months telling her friends how disappointing I was, That love isn't settling for someone until something better comes along. Emma said that's not what happened. I walked away and talked to the gym manager, explained my ex was harassing me and I needed her membership canceled. He said he couldn't without proof of harassment. So now I'm stuck at a gym where my ex shows up to watch me. I go at different times, but she figures out my schedule. Casey's patience is wearing thin. She said this situation is too much, that she didn't sign up to deal with a stalker ex. I'm looking into getting a restraining order. My buddy, who's a lawyer, said I need to document everything, that I probably have enough for a temporary order. Part of me feels bad going that route. But Emma's not going to stop unless I force her to. Update. I had to get the restraining order. Emma made things worse, so I had no choice. 2 weeks ago, I was at Casey's apartment. We'd had dinner and were watching a movie when there was a knock around 10. Casey answered, and I heard Emma's voice, asking if I was there. I went to the door, and Emma was in the hallway holding flowers. She'd figured out where Casey lived and tracked me down. I stepped into the hallway and told Emma to leave. She started crying and begging. Casey came to the door and told Emma to leave or she was calling the cops. Emma said nasty things to Casey, called her a rebound, said she wasn't even pretty and I was using her to make Emma jealous. Casey told her to get out. Emma refused. So Casey called the cops. Emma freaked and left before they arrived. After Emma left, Casey and I had a long talk. She said this was too much drama, that Emma clearly had issues and Casey didn't feel safe, that maybe we should take a break until I handled it. I was devastated. Emma had ruined another good thing. I begged Casey to reconsider, but she was firm, said she needed to protect her peace. So Casey and I broke up. Entirely Emma's fault. The next day I filed for a restraining order, brought all my documentation, the texts, emails, gym membership showing up at Casey's. The clerk said I had more than enough. Emma was served 3 days later. I had a lawyer friend represent me at the hearing. Emma showed up with her own lawyer. The judge asked Emma why she'd been contacting me after I asked her to stop. Emma's lawyer said Emma was just trying to reconcile after a long relationship, that people try to win back exes all the time. My lawyer countered with all the documented incidents, the messages, showing up at my apartment, the bar, the gym, Casey's place, that Emma had been told multiple times to stop and got worse instead. The judge asked Emma if she understood I didn't want contact. Emma said yes, but she thought if she could explain, I'd understand. The judge said that's not how consent works. When someone says leave me alone, you leave them alone. The judge granted a temporary restraining order for 6 months. Emma has to stay 500 feet away, can't contact me by any means, can't go to my apartment, work, gym, or anywhere she knows I go. Emma started crying. The judge said if she violated the order, she'd be arrested. After the hearing, Emma's mom approached me. She'd always been nice. She apologized for Emma's behavior, said she didn't know it had gotten this bad, that Emma had been telling them I was sending mixed signals. I told her I'd been clear we were done, that Emma had been harassing me for months. Her mom believed me, said she'd talked to Emma about respecting the order. For the past couple weeks, it's been quiet. No messages, no showing up. The order seems to be working. I reached out to Casey about the restraining order. She said that was good, and she was glad I took action. I asked if we could try again. She said maybe down the road, but she needed time, that the whole thing freaked her out. I understood. Told her to reach out if she ever wanted to reconnect. So now I'm single again. Except I'm not back at square one because I'm still in the best shape of my life, have a good job, good friends, good hobbies. I'm doing fine on my own. My therapist says this whole situation has been good for me in a weird way, that it forced me to set boundaries and stand up for myself in a way I never did with Emma. That I'm learning I don't need someone else's approval to feel good about myself. She's right. Old me would have taken Emma back the first time she showed up crying. Would have believed her promises to change. Would have convinced myself that her wanting me back meant I was finally good enough. But new me knows better. Knows that Emma wanting me back isn't about me. It's about her ego. About not wanting to see me happy without her. I'm done playing. I'm just living my life, and if Emma can't handle that from 500 feet away, that's her problem. Update. Final update, because this is actually over now. Emma violated the restraining order and got arrested. The whole situation finally ended. The order had been working for about 6 weeks. I was starting to relax. Then last Friday, I was out with friends at a new restaurant downtown. We were halfway through dinner when Emma walked in with 2 friends. She looked directly at me when she walked in. Not a coincidence. They got seated 3 tables away. Emma kept staring at our table. Her friends were trying to distract her, but she wasn't paying attention. I went to the manager and explained my ex had a restraining order and just walked in, that she needed to leave or I'd call the police. The manager went to Emma's table and quietly asked them to leave. Emma started arguing with him, said it was a public place and she had every right to eat there. The manager explained there was a legal order preventing her from being near me. Emma's friends tried to get her to leave, but Emma was making a scene. She stood up and looked at me, started yelling about how I'd ruined her life, how I'd turned everyone against her, how she'd only loved me and I treated her like garbage. Other diners were staring. The manager told her to leave immediately. Emma ignored him and started walking toward my table. My friend stood up. I told her she was violating the order and needed to back off. She said she didn't care about the order, that it was just paper, that she had things to say, and I was going to listen. The manager called the cops. Emma's friends begged her to leave. Emma refused. She stood there crying and yelling while the whole restaurant watched. She said I'd changed into someone she didn't recognize, that the old me would never treat her this way, that I'd gotten fit and successful, and it went to my head. I told her calmly that I'd asked her repeatedly to leave me alone, that she was the one who said I wasn't good enough, that she wanted a real man and I'd become that person after we broke up, that she didn't get to be upset I did it without her. Emma said she'd apologized 1,000 times, that I was being vindictive. I said I wasn't being vindictive, I was protecting my peace. The cops arrived, and the manager explained the situation. They checked the restraining order on my phone against Emma's ID. The officers told Emma she was under arrest. Emma lost it, started screaming that this wasn't fair, that I was doing this to hurt her. One friend was crying. The other was on her phone, probably calling Emma's parents. The officers handcuffed Emma and let her out. She was yelling the whole way, that I'd regret this, that karma would come for me, that I'd end up alone and miserable. The whole restaurant was silent. I felt humiliated even though I'd done nothing wrong. My friends and I left. The manager comped our bill. That night, Emma's mom called, crying and apologizing, said Emma was in jail and they were trying to post bail, that Emma had promised she was staying away. I felt bad for her mom, but said I couldn't drop charges even if I wanted to, that Emma made her choice. Her mom understood, said she'd tried to get Emma into therapy, but Emma refused. The bail hearing was Monday. Emma got out, but there's a court date coming up. My lawyer says she could face up to a year depending on the judge. As part of bail conditions, the judge extended the order to 1,000 feet and added mandatory counseling. If she violates again, straight to jail. Since the arrest, it's been completely quiet, no messages, no showing up. Emma finally got the message. Casey reached out after hearing about the restaurant, asked if I was okay and if we could meet for coffee. We met yesterday and talked for hours. She apologized for bailing when things got hard. I said I understood and didn't hold it against her. Casey asked if I'd be interested in trying again. Said she'd done thinking and realized she let fear make her decision, that she missed me. I told her I needed to think about it. Not because I'm not interested, but because I want to make sure I'm doing it for the right reasons, not just because it's easy or to prove something to Emma. Casey said she appreciated that and to take my time. This whole situation taught me so much about boundaries and self-worth. When Emma and I were together, I based my entire sense of self on whether she was happy with me. I let her opinion become my opinion of myself. The breakup forced me to figure out who I was without her validation, to build confidence from within, to set goals because I wanted to, not because someone pushed me. Now I'm genuinely happy with who I am. Would a relationship be nice? Sure. But I don't need one to feel complete. That's the biggest change. Old me needed Emma. New me wants a partner but doesn't need one. Emma couldn't handle that. I became who she claimed she wanted without her help. She wanted credit for my transformation. But the truth is, I grew because I left her, not because she left me. If we'd stayed together, I'd probably still be the same guy, going through the motions, letting her make decisions, never pushing myself. The breakup was the kick I needed to actually live instead of just existing. You can't build a relationship without trust and respect. And we had neither of those things. My therapist says I've come a long way from 8 months ago, that I've learned to prioritize my well-being instead of sacrificing it for someone else. She's right. Old me would have caved the first time Emma showed up crying. New me knows my worth isn't determined by whether Emma wants me. I've decided to give things another shot with Casey. We're taking it slow and being honest about what we need. It feels different, healthier. Two complete people choosing to be together, not two halves trying to make a whole. As for Emma, I hope she gets help. I hope she figures out whatever made her act this way. I hope she finds peace eventually. But I hope she does it far away from me. I've moved on and I'm not looking back. Emma wanted a real man with drive and ambition and confidence. I became that person, just not for her, for myself. And that's the real win. Not that I got fit or got a better job or started dating someone new, but that I learned to value myself enough to walk away from someone who didn't value me. Emma told her friends she wanted a real man. Well, I became one. And real men don't accept breadcrumbs from people who threw them away. Real men know their worth. I deserve someone who loves me at my worst and celebrates me at my best. Someone who supports me without making me feel inadequate. Someone who's proud to be with me. Emma wasn't that person, and I'm okay with that. This is my final update. Thanks to everyone who read and commented. Time to focus on the future instead of the past.